Okay, here we are looking at this brine maker that was designed and built by Jim Johnson, and he's been kind enough to share the information with all of us. I'm very impressed with the design, and just talking with him here a little bit, I'm very impressed with the performance. And just going to shoot a little footage here. It's a fairly simple design. I think most do-it-yourselfers will be able to handle it as long as they have a price list and have a good idea of where all of the fittings go. And just hearing him talking about the performance of it is pretty exciting. Take us for a walk around, Jim.
All right. This is set up with two motors, two gas 5-horse motors and two 2-inch pumps. What it does is it draws the liquid out of the lower tank and pumps it through plumbing and nozzles in the upper tank to create as much turbulence as possible. In the upper tank is where your salt has been put, and it will dissolve all that salt. Each motor runs one side of the brine maker, and the right hand side that you're looking at is simply to create the turbulence in the top tank. The motor on the left hand side has dual purpose, which will create turbulence on the back side of the upper tank, but it also will draw the liquid, brine that you have made, out of both tanks and put it into your storage tank.
Okay, so what we're saying here on this engine right here is it's pulling out of the lower tank, out of the bottom right here, sucking out and into this top, and then through the pump it comes back through here
Into the hard plumbing.
over to the hard plumbing, and then that's where we get our lines going up into the bottom of the tank. What do you have any kind of any idea what the pressure is on this at all?
These pumps run at about 35 psi. Standard PVC pipe, drainage pipe, will handle that kind of pressure, but all the black rubber hose and fittings there can easily handle 100 psi, so everything's kind of overrated as far as the pressure.
Okay.
It's a low pressure, high volume pump.
And you already told me that if you had to make any changes at all, instead of putting one here, you might put two.
Correct.
Okay. And you think that'll gain you a little bit more turbulence?
Yep. The whole idea is the more turbulence, the better.
So we just need another T in here and hose fittings, and we'd be all set on that. Now over here on this side then, the other pump on the other side is coming in and
does the same thing
over to here.
Does the same thing as the other pump, but this one has a little added feature. By turning this 3-way valve down here, you will unload your brine maker into your storage tank.
Okay. So when you're making it, this would be shut off.
Well, it's never shut off.
Okay.
It only has two different positions. It can go to the right or it can go to the left.
Okay.
And right now it's going to the right, which will push the liquid into the bottom of the upper tank.
Okay. And up through the hoses. Yep. In your turbulence there. And then when you get ready to unload, then you would switch the gate more or less, and that would then go into your drain.
And that'll push it up to your storage tank.
Okay.
And you can do that on the fly. You don't have to shut the motor off or anything.
Yep. Okay.
And this valve up here is simply so that you don't suck up any undissolved salt or sediment that may be in the upper tank. You'll be pumping always drawing liquid out of the bottom tank, no matter what you're doing, whether you're making brine or you're going to store your brine. When you get to storing the brine, after the lower tank is pumped down about halfway, to get the brine that you've made out of your upper tank, it's just a matter of opening this valve. That'll gravity drain your brine down into your suction tank so that you can pump it into your storage tank.
Okay, so here again, as you're making the brine, this valve here would be closed, and after you're done making it, and you're ready to start loading into your storage tank, then you would open this and it would gravity feed into this tank here.
Right.
Okay.
And these two tanks are 535 gallon tanks. You can use any size you actually want to. There's no set standards on them.
Yeah.
Being 535 gallon tanks, you would think that it's 1,070 gallon, but you're actually only going to make about 800 gallons out of that combination of tanks.
Okay. Batch. It'd
Per
be
batch.
Per batch, an 800 gallon batch is about the maximum.
Yes.
Okay. Now explain again to me, if they wanted to go with just one motor instead of two.
If you wanted, if you wanted one motor, no matter what size the motor or what size the pump, you have to at least do a 2-inch pump. All it would be is you tie your two suction lines together with a T.
What should be which ones here?
Off to the side.
The bottom.
The bottom.
Okay.
You tie these two together with a T and plumb it in so that you only have one suction point. You'll
Okay.
still be turning the same amount of water, but at half the rate. And same way with your outgoing supply side, you would plumb that in with a T so it would hook up to one pump. Now if you want to increase the size of your pumps and motors, or change from gas motors to electric motors, you do the same thing. You can use one. It just, this is what I decided to use to start off with. It's portable. You can take it to your pile, you can take it to your storage tank, whatever. Probably not the greatest to run inside of an enclosed shop,
Yeah.
but it'd be about the same cost, maybe slightly more if you put a 3-inch pump with electric motor or 220 volt motor on it.
You thought what, about $300 more to
At
go
the
in
max.
electric? Okay.
By the time you figure your T fittings to combine your lines, the extra length of your lines, you know, you put the one motor off to one side or the other, so it's
Right.
going to take a little longer pipe or hose, and your fittings to tee them in and plumb them to your new motor.
Right.
Probably no more than 300 extra if you wanted to go at 220 volt 3-inch poly pump.
Okay. And tell me again about the performance. You've had two different experiences with it so far. One where you put the salt in and let it soak for a while, and a second one just putting dry rock salt in and turning the sucker on.
I had everything ready to go, and I had to leave. I couldn't run the batch, and the salt soaked in the upper tank all day for about 8 hours before I came home to run the batch. Made an 800 gallon batch in 16 minutes.
Wow.
Now this time we're going to run it, and my other time, I've run this 3 times now, it took 34 minutes. My water was already filled up, so we're going to get the Bobcat, put 2 scoops of rock salt, which is roughly 2,000 pounds, or maybe just a little bit more. And it'll take about 35 minutes to make an 800 gallon batch at 25 or 26%.
Yeah. Okay. Now up here in this plumbing, I just wanted to point out that these are just holes that you drilled in here. Well, you caulk this in a little bit here, I see.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
all gravity drain. You're pumping out of the lower tank and pushing into the top tank. And as that top tank fills up, then it gravity flows back into your lower tank. So what you're doing is recirculating the water, creating turbulence in your upper tank to dissolve all your rock salt.
Okay, let me just get a shot of this up here. So you've got the pipes are coming down inside the tank here, more or less just setting in
2 to
here.
3 inches.
Yeah.
Just
Okay, Jim, tell me about the fittings here.
Any of the fittings that are on the curvature of a tank are a 90-degree fitting inside.
Okay.
That way it rolls the salt, keeps the flow rolling back and forth. Anything on the flat of a tank is a 45-degree fitting on the inside.
Pointed down?
Just add a little bit of an angle down.
Okay, all right. So basically what you're saying is by putting these in here, coming in here like this and then a 90 down,
right.
What we're doing is we're getting a rolling action that's over here, and then on this side it's going the opposite. Yeah, just the opposite direction. So you get a swirling in the tank here, and that's one reason why this design is just perfect. We can see here just after running just for not even 5 minutes that probably a good, yeah, the salt pile that was in here has probably dropped about 6 to 8 inches already, and I think it's just a fantastic design, and especially if you had 2 more nozzles in here instead of this one right here, it would improve the performance of it. Okay, we're at 24%, so we went ahead and shut this engine here off, and he's got this one left on. Open this valve up here. Now we're filling the tank. Filling the tank out, draining these here. You can see this one over here is draining. At the point that the water level gets below this.
We can turn that valve on now.
Okay. He's gonna. So this is gonna drain out of the top tank into the bottom tank. Everything will be pumped right out.
28.5 inches.
And that'd be to the center?
To the center.
Okay, 28.5 inches to the center of the hole. And was that the 3 1/8 inch hole saw that you had in the, okay, 3 1/8 inch hole saw.
13 inches up here from the fill hole.
Okay. So the hole that you're going to cut in the top of the tank here from top dead center will come out 13 inches right here. That's where you make your cut along there. Now tell me again about this fitting right here.
There's 2 of these fittings, and they're opposite style fittings. One's a female and one's a male. Once you got your hole cut through, put a bead of silicone sealant around, slide it in, reach over the top, screw the 2 fittings nice and snug together.
Okay.
Then you'll just PVC glue the rest of the pipe to it.
Okay, very good. Okay, there's the water coming into the lower tank from the top tank, and then it's being pumped out the bottom. One thing to discuss a little bit about these pumps is that you cannot run them dry. If you run them dry, you'll ruin them very quickly. So you'll have to have somebody attending, make sure that they're not being run dry. They'll go bad very quickly if they're run dry.